Greetings everyone and welcome to the Occult Think Tank. My name is Greg. In this video I am going to be giving a tutorial on the eSword Bible. And in this, what you will see right from the start here is this is how it should look when you have it first installed. If you have modified it from how you have installed it and you've done anything, you might want to go up to where it says help and go down to reset eSword settings. What that'll do is that'll shut down the eSword Bible. It should reboot it, and then when it comes back up, it'll come back up like you see it here. And it can show the tip of the day and so forth. It also has where you can go technical support and training demos, things like that. But after this, you shouldn't really need that. Now, for those that have seen the videos that I've already done with the eSword Bible, you will notice I don't have these up. And I'll show you how to get rid of them real quick. All these are is they give commentary verses where it can suggest things that will be similar to like John 3:16. But that is pretty much hit or miss as far as if they would actually be accurate or if it is just as what a lot of Christians have is they'll try and act like different verses connect, especially Old Testament to New Testament, where the connection is very vague. So what I do, just because I don't care about their commentaries, is I hit the section over this little unpin pretty much, and it puts it over here. These are study notes. You can make any notes you want. I don't use it myself because if I'm going to use notes, I'll have paper and so forth elsewhere that I don't want to have cluttering up the eSword, especially because of doing videos. I want this section to be as big as I can for you guys. So what I do is I hit that again and it puts it over here. Now, what I use is the Strong's Dictionary, and you can drag this down to, basically that's as far as it'll let you. And this way you have the broadest sense of what the text is. Now you could minimize the books. Personally, I wouldn't do that. If anything, grab this and you'll see the arrows pointing either side, left or right, and you can drag it over to where it will not really show you the names of each book. It'll only give like the first few letters, which you can drag this. If you have it back over and you want to check a book, then you can just drag it back over and see the name of the book you want and so forth. But for the purposes of having as much of the text as possible for you, having it over like that can be a decent idea. Because as you can see, it gives the broadest possible screen for the text itself. Now typically I'll keep it roughly about there, just because for the easy reference I do like to be able to see the name of the book and so forth so that I can easily maneuver through to whatever book, chapter, and verse I want to cover. Now, one of the things I use frequently, what I don't use, you'll notice this tab here next to the B, C, D, E is the split screen, which is what you have with this. When you switch it to B, it's just the text. When you switch it to C, It is just the commentary, which I had unpinned. When you switch it to D, those are your notes, and D is the Strong's, and E is your notes. But I go back and I keep it on that one. Now, some may be wondering what this over in the corner is. It's reference library, and it can go into, I don't use it personally, because if I'm going to search for something, I'll go to the binoculars that are right here. Because when you hit that, you can type in anything, like virgins. And before I hit enter, which is the same as hitting this here, you can select KJV or KJV plus. And you can also switch it from, and let me make this wider so you can see. You can switch it to search for all of the words, any of the words, an exact phrase, or a regular expression. If you're doing a few words, like sons of God, where I had in a previous video, I was going to exact phrase. Because if you go to all words, it will pull up all of the words. And you can also switch it to Old Testament, the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, the history, which is some of the other books, wisdom, major prophets, minor prophets, and New Testament, Gospels, Paul's letters, general letters, and Apocalypse, Revelation. Or you can just have it on Bible, and it's both. If you keep it on Bible, it will give you both Old and New Testament. It won't separate. But if you go over here and you pick any of these, it will only show you what is in that section. Whichever you picked, be it Old Testament, it'll show you everything that's in the Old Testament. New Testament will show you everything in the New. But if you pick something specific in Old or New Testament, it will specifically focus on that. Now, when I do it, that's what I do, and then I hit either the binoculars or enter, and it pulls up the occurrences of the word virgins. Because now, one thing that can make a difference is if you switch and not have the S and just have virgin. Then you have others that pop up as well. And if you switch it to KJV plus and do that, one thing that when you check the Genesis 24:16, because once you have that, you can either cancel out of it or move it aside and focus on, now if you want to do the shortcut to have as big a view of it as you possibly can, you can hit like D, because that is the Strong's, and it will show you the BETHULAH, and that is the root meaning a virgin. This is in the sexual sense, a virgin. Now, when we pull back over and you look at different, because one of the things you will notice is it's like Hebrew 13:30, and then we have over here in Genesis 24:43 Hebrew 59:59, and when you click on that, you will see it is the word Alma. It is the same word virgin. I want you to see that. In Genesis 24:16, it says in English it's virgin, and in Genesis 24:43 in English it is virgin. But in Hebrew, They are very different words with very different meanings. And this is where Christians really get screwed up, because the Hebrew word Alma is alas, a young woman. Now it does put in, the translators put in virgin, but it's not a virgin in the same sense as the sexual, of where it was the Bethula, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. The thing is, this is clearly in the sexual aspect. And Mark Powers had pointed out to me of, do you know what the Hebrew word for a male virgin is? And I have no idea. He was, that's good because there isn't one. The reason is there's no way to know. That you could have someone that is a virgin that is a male in the sexual sense, and you would have no way of telling if they're a virgin or not. Excuse me. The thing is, when you want to switch back from the Strong's aspect, now before I do, there is one thing I want to point out. If you click on this, it'll highlight everything, and you can, because I was messing around with this, you can pick a highlight color if you really want to mess with it. And if you pick here, it'll let you pick whatever color you want. Excuse me. But personally, I keep it on white, because if you change that, and let's just go with the blue, that's how things will look. And it'll look like that as long as you keep it like that. And in order to get it back, once you have done that, you have to go in and you could be, oh, there's that color. And you have to go back in and keep doing that until you find a color you want, or until you just get disgusted with it like I did and go back to white. Because you have to hit here if you want to change the highlight color before you can come over here. But personally, I keep it on white because, or clear highlight, because it's easier for me. This is just to make it larger. If you have a problem seeing and so forth, that can be helpful. But once you're done with, in a sense, the Strong's aspect, you can jump back to that. Or if you just like if you're just trying to read a particular chapter or whatnot, you can do it this way. The thing is, I typically keep it like this because I can maneuver through relatively easy. Now, one of the things you can also do that I noticed is you can set up the language to whatever language you want. And just to mess with it a little bit, if you change the language, it won't change the text, but it will change the tabs, which can really mess with you if you don't know what. And that is where I would suggest not doing that, to be totally honest, because now I have to figure out where the hell I was. And oh, okay, because, and in case it is over here. Now, like I said, I would seriously suggest not doing that, because otherwise you can mess yourself up. And it was under options and language. But when you switch it to something else, Well, with French, it wouldn't be as bad because it's still options. But when you switch it to like I did, then you're looking at a word that you're like, huh? And you have to remember where you were to be able to get it back to, because all it's changing is at the tabs and I think maybe the names of the books, just to mess with it a little bit more. Yeah, it changes the name of the books over here to that other language as well, but it doesn't. I don't think it might actually change that to. Let me just see. No, it's still the same in English. I had to go back to one that I actually recognized. But no, the text itself remains the same. It's just the names of the books that change and the tab at the top. But that's something I wouldn't personally mess with. You can select like random startup verse that every time you start it up it'll post a random verse. I don't do that, but that's my preference. It's in large part what I use when I'm checking something is either I'm going in and I'm checking something specifically, or if you're watching a video that I do and I go through, I'll let you know book, chapter, and verse of where I'm at. Not to mention you'll be able to see it in front of you. You might not always see this, but this is the other tool that I use frequently. Because if you don't know where something is, but you know a word that is in the text of what is mentioned, like a good example is that you know what Jesus said about he wasn't here to bring peace but a sword, and you're like, okay, I don't know what verse that is, but I know sword is mentioned, and you can go in and I want New Testament because I'm focused on what Jesus said. Or if you really want to be specific and be just about Jesus, you can be the Gospels and Acts. And it'll focus its search on wherever you put. Like I put Gospels and Acts, so that's all that it'll bring up. And it'll pull up. And when you do a search like that, whatever you looked for will be highlighted in yellow. So, and one that would be along the lines of what I was saying is, think not that I've come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace but a sword. Matthew 10:34. The thing is, it's all a matter of whatever you're looking for, it will find, if it is there. Now you have to remember if something is spelled differently. Like if you type in Savior as we spell it, no occurrences. And if you switch it to be okay, Bible, no occurrences. And you could be, wait a minute, that's how we spell Savior, that's spelled right. You have to put the U in. Because this is, in a sense, it's older English type of spelling. You also have to make sure, as has been pointed out to me already, that you're spelling something correctly in the first place. Because if you are misspelling it, be it in this case or otherwise, it's not going to come up as you want. And you could be thinking there's nothing there. Well, there's nothing there as you had spelled it. But that's not necessarily saying that there's nothing there. But I hope this helps. I hope this, because that's about the extent of what you would use as far as with what I do, because I don't use the compare or parallel. I just I don't care to. If I have a question about something, I'll call Mark and ask him, and he's looking at it in Hebrew, so the way he's looking at it would be a lot different than how I do. But I hope this helps. And as far as down here, like one person had mentioned they were only seeing like so many lines, where they were talking about in the last video where I said the word logos, that, and just to show you again, you can go to the D over here and it will pull up just the Strong's Concordance, and it should give you the full however many lines. It shouldn't limit to, as far as I know, there's nothing you can push to limit the definition that will come. It's just what's there. Now, in the aspect of the study notes and so forth, or topic notes, you can put in anything you want. You can go into even the journal notes and completely change what is there, which is really dumb in my opinion, because you could just totally, oh, I don't like that, and just remove it. Or be, oh, I don't like that it has this aspect, so I will just highlight that and remove it, and be, now it's not in mine. To me, that's dishonest. I wouldn't do that, but as far as the journal notes, you can do that. But you can't do that with, at least I don't think you can do that with the Strong's. Let's find out. No, it won't let you do that with how it is in the Strong's. So this is all your notes. It's all what you have. So in that, yeah, you can go in and change it to however the fuck you want. But it doesn't mean that what you're going to have will be accurate if you're changing it to being in a way that it differs from what the actual definition is. Because you can literally put anything you want in there, and it will be under your study notes. It doesn't have to relate to the subject. It doesn't even have to be accurate. There's nothing here that's going to check what you're putting in for accuracy. It is simply going to let you put in whatever you want. So in that, I don't use it myself. But that is the extent of what I use the eSword for, and it's very basic, very straightforward. There's no, like I said, you can compare, and you can use the compare to seeing it in the KJV and the KJV Plus at the same time for a verse, or parallel. You can go into others, and I don't know if you could download other versions of, like, other translations. I don't know. It's entirely possible, because there is, under downloads, dictionaries, devotions, graphics, reference books, so forth, Bibles, because you can download, you can download different Bibles to be able to have whatever, I guess, version you would want, and you can download that and it would add it to your eSword if you would want to do that. And so far as you can, now it does have, like, you can purchase, I guess, the Message, Revised Standard Version, New Revised Standard Living Translation. It would all depend on what, because it shows installed King James Version with Strong's, and Strong's numbers. So that shows you the version you have installed. I don't use any other. Now, I may check into the Jewish Publication Society just to be curious. But other than that, and in case you are wondering where did I go for that, downloads, Bibles, right at the top. Because if you click on that, it'll pull up this, and you can search and see that you can get a whole litany of different types. It all depends on what version you want. Now, okay, and that's showing, and it's in red because I had reset, so I guess it goes back. Oh no, it's 2014. I don't know. But this shows you the Bibles and so forth that you can download, and even, I guess, commentaries, which again, there's a whole litany, as well as dictionaries. If you don't like Strong's, if you want to go with like Smith's or Poor Man's or others, you can download them as well. Vines, and there's other devotionals that you can get there. Graphs, reference books. It all depends on what you want. It's just a matter of, I haven't messed with that too much, but again, that's under downloads and Bibles. But some of it was also bringing up these others. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.